Sean,
Mike?
what is this? A crossover episode? Yowza bobowza. You did the do early, Sean.
I would never do the do early because we just did this, and I remember when to do my do-do-dos.
I don't know what that means. Anyway, hello everybody. Welcome to What Is This, a Crossover Episode, a podcast where Sean and I are covering Bojack Horseman, the television show on Netflix. That's very funny, but also very sad and profound. We are on episode 3 of season 3. Bojack kills today. Sean, how you doing, man?
Dude, I'm good. I'm so excited to be here recording Bojack. I very much enjoy this show, and I don't know.
Okay, we haven't recorded for months.
We had a whole conversation beforehand about how long we were gonna
We haven't recorded for months, okay? Because the Squid Game reality show came out, and Sean and I only have so much bandwidth to do these things. So we had recorded episodes 1 and 2. That show came out. We did that, and now we're back. We're refocused on Bojack. You guys, it will be a week. You won't even know.
Yeah.
You won't even know that there wasn't.
But I kind of think there's something special about us having gone to something that I think drove us a little crazy with Squid Game. I think we went a little crazy this season with the reality show a little bit. And there's something we're returning to grounded land with Bojack Horseman.
Yeah, it feels like home. It feels like home.
This is the perfect episode to be coming back to the show too, because holy fuck. Oh my God.
Yeah, you like this one?
I loved this episode.
So this episode is a 7.4 out of 10 on IMDb.
Should be a 9.
Little lower.
This episode's great.
Typical Bojack episodes. But I do like this episode a lot.
I think this is like a top tier funny Bojack episode. So those get lower ratings than like the Bojack episodes that are like really impactful.
Right.
You know?
Speaking of funny, Sean, this episode aired on July 22nd, 2016. And you know what we have to do on this show? We have to go back and look at what happened on July 22nd, 2016. And I said, speaking of funny, Hillary Clinton announces Virginia Senator Tim Kaine as her vice presidential running mate. That's pretty funny.
That was pretty funny. That was pretty funny.
Not so funny. A man shoots and kills 9 people at the Olympia shopping mall in Munich, Germany, and then kills himself.
Oh my God.
Japan's Funnel Electric announced they will manufacture the world's last video cassette this month. Good for them.
That's sad.
How can you say that, though? Because couldn't somebody else come along and just go, I'm going to do one now, so we're the last?
I think they kill them.
They just go kill anybody that tries to? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of death, here's some famous deaths this day. Thomas Sutherland, American hostage, Lebanon, an academic, dies at 85.
God, I still can't believe that he's famous for having been a hostage.
Well, we looked into that. He was a hostage way before his death.
Yeah.
Like, hostage and academic.
Yeah, like, I feel like his academic career was probably more important.
Yeah, I agree. Ursula Franklin, German-born Canadian physicist, educator, and activist. She developed archaeometry, dies at 94.
I think we've looked up what archaeometry is all 3 episodes that we've recorded.
And I still don't know.
I still don't know what it is. Should I look it up again, or should we just
we'll just leave it for today.
Okay, we just live in doubt.
Some synergy on the music charts. The number 1 song in both the UK and the US is One Dance by Drake, featuring WizKid and Kyla. Drake, now known for having a very long penis.
Yes.
That's
That's
what he's known for now.
Yeah.
Having a spaghetti-style penis.
Okay, I have to ask, Mike, did you see the video?
I did not, but I've been told it's long.
Not
the video, his penis.
But we don't have any firsthand.
Tara kind of is a penis lorehound. Like, she knows a lot about celebrity penises. She'll admit this. This isn't like some weird slight against her. She'll tell you how big John Hamm's hog is. You know, she knows. And so she was really, I know all the stuff because of her. Yeah, she likes to know about penises, I guess.
Okay.
So good for her, you know. But she knows about dicks, and everybody
I'm glad we at least have like a firsthand correspondent.
Yeah.
We're not just reporting on like what some random person on the internet said, you know?
Yeah. Agreed.
If this podcast has anything, it's journalistic integrity.
Journalistic integrity about penises.
Yeah.
So that's what happened on the day this episode released in 2016. And then before we get in the episode, we have a review from our friend Edvis1997.
Man, what a legend.
And it says, so far this season is really S ... I believe they were censoring shit, but they used periods and not asterisks, so it's a little confusing.
I don't know about that.
Which is really sad. I was hoping the most from this season ... 7 out of 10.
Okay, so like full disclosure, like we said, it's been months since we recorded. So I've rewatched the first 2 episodes as well, right before watching episode 3. I feel like it's been a pretty solid season so far. We're only 3 episodes in, but I thought last episode was really good. The first episode was really good. I don't know, like.
Yeah, I think Edvis is being a little critical here.
Yeah. So I feel like this is the first funny, I feel like episodes 1 and 2 were very character driven. And this is the first, like, there's like definitely still some character stuff happening in here, but it's very like.
This is the Chicken for Days episode from last season, but it's much better executed in my opinion.
Yeah. I loved this episode a lot.
Yep. It's kind of South Parky in the way it tackles like a topic, right?
You're absolutely right. It's, you know what, it kind of feels South Parky, but I want to say Community, but I feel like Family Guy is almost a better reference in, you know, like Family Guy does those episodes that are like, you know, like the homage episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Like it feels very almost Family Guy-esque in its homage, like it's kind of a cop episode, like a detective show, like a Law and Order type procedural type homage happening in here. I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I feel like this episode was firing on all cylinders for me.
I agree. I think it's a really good episode. I didn't catch their name, but when I was looking at the reviews to get Edvis's review, someone rated this one 10 out of 10 and said one of the most underrated Bojack Horseman episodes. So
I feel like, okay, I was watching it and I was thinking, this might be my favorite of the not serious episodes.
Yeah.
Like taking away last season with the boat episode and the season before that when he's just high the whole time.
Yeah.
Like taking out those episodes that are like really
the penultimate episodes. They're not the season finale, but the one right before tends to be the best episode of the season. That's a trend that will kind of continue.
Yeah.
But you're right. This episode, as far as like just a good BoJack Horseman episode where you don't need a ton of setup and you don't need a lot of lore to get into, it's really good.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's dive into it. Show opens with a scene from Horsing Around with Goober.
Yeah. Yes.
Goober, played unfortunately by Fred Savage.
Oh no.
Yeah. Is he's the Screech or the Kimmy Gibbler of Horsing Around. And we meet him later on, and he's running the Whale World, which is a knock on SeaWorld. And it's implying that bringing kids to SeaWorld to see these whales is a lot like bringing them to a strip club to see women dancing.
Man, this is horribly horribly. It feels different.
It
feels different after you told me that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think at the time they cast him because he's like the child actor sitcom guy, right?
Great casting at the time.
Yeah, obviously, this is kind of a Dustin Diamond type, right? Child actor who kind of goes off the rails and does a lot of weird stuff.
So far off the rails.
Yeah. Yeah.
Big Shia LaBeouf energy from Goober in this episode.
Yes, and we're in a commercial for his Whale World.
I went through so many feelings.
Yeah.
During the opening of this episode, where at first I was like, Oh, stripper whales. That's kind of funny. Like the idea of you're in SeaWorld and if you've got whales on display, like kind of it's like this weird stripper version of an amusement park. But then I was like, he's pointing out that this is a family place a lot, and it's making me very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And then he says, bring your prepubescent daughters who are just beginning to be cognizant of a woman's role in the world. They won't internalize deeply problematic notions about the commodification of sexualization in today's society. What are you talking about? It's just whales.
My favorite thing is like people might. He says people might say this is what you just said, and he goes, "Stop saying that, okay?"
Yeah. Okay. No. He keeps talking because he says that about what I think is actually like the most horrifying part of this episode that is like not even addressed is he like hints at the idea of like, okay, so in the real world, like these kind of zoo places, these animals are held in captivity, right? And then he essentially says like, you might say that this is sex trafficking. Well, stop.
Yeah,
It's essentially what he says. And I'm like, and the episode never really addresses that.
No. And I will say, like, I know people are pretty negative on zoos a lot of the time. I do think they do a lot of good, especially when you're talking about like endangered species and, making sure they don't die out because of the actions of other people in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there are certain things with them too, especially like SeaWorld, that it's been like an issue where they don't always do things right, just like anything, right? So I think you can be critical of those kind of institutions without being completely negative on them too,
Yeah, I also think it's just like you run into the issue since this is like an anthropomorphic world, like zoos inherently automatically become a problem.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even thinking about it.
Absolutely.
When I was watching the bit, I was like, oh yeah, SeaWorld, ha ha ha. And then he brought that up. I'm like, wait, yeah, no, this is really fucked up in world.
Right. Yeah.
Like beyond however you feel about zoos in real life, like the context of this being the world that it is totally changes everything.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. So we get that commercial, and then we go into the intro, and then we come back out, and Bojack is at a non-denomination winter school pageant. One of my favorite bits of this episode is because he's trying to win an Oscar, he has to go do all these events, but they're not like real things that people do to win an Oscar.
No.
It's like bullshit. No. It's like, oh, you have to go to this bar mitzvah, and you have to go to this play, and you have to, like...
Go like a nursing home.
Right. It's just stuff that celebrities actually don't do, but they just continue to find more and more weird things that he has to do. The non-denominational winter pageant really made me laugh quite a bit.
I thought that one was good. There was one later on in the episode that I thought was really good. I don't know if they could do it today.
What do you mean?
I don't know if with the bar mitzvah scene, I don't know if they could do it like. I don't know if they could have him say like all the kind of like Yiddish slang that he does today.
Well, no, I don't know. I think it would have been just as offensive then. I think.
Well, it would have been, but I think. I mean, when did this come out again?
2016.
Okay, I was thinking like 2013.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, but that's part of the point. Is it's just all like lip service and like fake.
Absolutely.
And,
Absolutely. It's just,
anybody watching this would understand that and not be
you would hope
offended by it. Yeah. He gets a call from Jill Pill, who wants him to check on Cuddly Whiskers, who last episode, we kind of got the backstory on Bojack and Cuddly Whiskers' relationship. And she has a very specific way of speaking and says a lot of things that Bojack probably doesn't want to hear, but she convinces him, hey, you should go check on him, please, and find this letter that I have hidden in his house, and I need it.
She says, like, from back when we were, prepare yourself. I'm about to say lovers.
Yeah, and then lovers. He goes, I wasn't prepared enough for that. So he finally, after their conversation, he goes and sits down with Diane and Anna Spanakovida, and Diane is commenting on how she's, doing the social media for Bojack. She's saying hashtag in her speech, and she's disgusted by it but can't stop it. And she goes to have a call with Mr. Peanut Butter, and they are trying to repair their relationship. And so you can tell they've gone to therapy, and they're doing a lot of, I validate what you said, and and
Mike,
it's the worst.
Yeah, I was about to say, I wrote it on my notes. I've never wanted a couple to break up more just so I can stop hearing this.
Yes.
I just want them to, like, I guess they're trying and that's good for them, but I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
What's important about this, and we'll get to this later, but it's like, you can say all the things that you're supposed to say, but the actions speak louder, right?
Mm-hmm,
and Mr. Peanut Butter kind of gets the aha moment with her to be like, hey, you fucked this up, but he also is doing things that she wouldn't be happy with. She just doesn't become aware of them, right?
Yeah.
So they're both just, again, it's just lip service. It's just
everybody in this show's a wreck.
Right.
I like when they start the phone call, I like Mr. Peanut Butter goes, hello, my precious darling slice of sunshine who I am not putting on a pedestal.
Right.
And I do want to bring up, as she's leaving like the place that they're at to answer the phone call, she says something about like, can you imagine having a kid? Gross. And I'm just like, we're in season 3. So I feel like at this point they have an end in plan, right? That isn't just this season.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I'm paying closer attention to what might be like, is that foreshadowing? Like, is something going to happen at some point? I have another thing later on, but I feel like her saying that was a little like,
interesting.
What's going to happen with Diane by the end of this?
Interesting. I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
So the last thing she says to him is, don't go hang out with that skunk neighbor, leave him alone. And he's like, oh, of course. And then we find out he and Todd both got skunked.
Uh-huh.
Skunked bad. And so he calls Princess Carolyn immediately and is like, you need to help me. Me and Todd got skunked. And before he says what they did, she goes, put the body on ice. I'll be right over. He's like, what? No, we just got skunked.
But she's a real one, because immediately she was like, I'll help you. Yeah. We'll figure this out.
That's a good agent.
I would not. I'd call the police.
Princess Carolyn might be a wreck of a person, but she's a good agent.
Yeah. I'd call the police immediately.
Yeah. Well, good to know that if I ever have a body, I will not call you.
Yeah, do not call me. Do not call me.
So we get back to Diane and Bojack, and Bojack's like, hey, can we go stop at this place? He wants to get the letter from Cuddly Whisper. She's like, I'd rather we just do our job. And he goes, hey, you're avoiding me, huh? And she's like, well, I just feel like, when I lived at your house, we bring out the worst in each other because we're so alike. And so I kind of would just want to keep it professional. And you can tell he's a little hurt by this, but he's just like, oh, okay, sure. Like it's actually a fairly grown-up reaction from Bojack Horseman to this.
Yeah.
Especially considering what we know about how he feels about Diane, or has felt about Diane in the past, right? I don't know that if someone I worked closely with said that to me, like, yeah, I'm just trying to avoid you for real. Like, because, you say jokes like that, like, oh, you're avoiding me, right? Yeah. But you don't expect them to go, yes, actually, I am. It's like, okay. Ooh. So, but no, fairly grown-up reaction from Bojack. But he drives her to Cuddly Whisker's house anyway.
Yeah, it was a very, also just like a very real moment in the middle of what has been pretty lighthearted so far.
Yep.
It was the first, this is fucking Bojack Horseman, and don't you forget it moment of the episode.
Yeah, definitely. So they end up at Cuddly Whisker's house. And this it's just a small comment, but something I appreciated is she goes, this is too spooky. And he goes, what would be the right amount of spooky? Because people say that all the time. And it's like, what would be the right amount of spooky here? He finds...
3.
A 3 spooky level.
Just like a 3.
He finds an Oscar and holds it up and goes, this is why Hilary Swank's arms are so jacked. Which I thought was pretty funny. But they find a dead killer whale in the pool.
Yeah.
And pretty weird stuff. And it's almost like the police were waiting for him, because they hop out and we get our boy, Officer Meow Meow Fuzzy Face. who I didn't write it down, and I'm mad I didn't, but he has a whole like thing about what this story of him solving this murder is going to be called.
Oh yeah, I'd watch a whole Officer Meow Meow Fuzzy Face show.
Yeah.
I really love him.
He's incredible. He's great.
Yeah, he's really good.
And then there's also, he's like, book 'em, boys, and the female cop is like, I'm a woman, and he goes, I'm trying, okay? Can't we just have a united front in front of the perps?
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty funny. We cut back to Todd, Mr. Peanut Butter, and Princess Carolyn. And I didn't have a lot about this scene, but I wanted to point out two things that this show pays very close attention to detail. One is the amount of spaghetti strainers in Mr. Peanut Butter's house, which he ordered previously, right? And then Todd still has his racist tattoos from when he was in prison.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, he still has the skinhead tattoo, and I just think that's really, really funny.
What I noticed in this scene was just like in dialogue again, was, why did you buy the spaghetti strainers? I'm sure, I don't know, I can't remember, but I'm sure it'll pay off later. So I'm like, okay, by the end of the season, those spaghetti strainers are probably going to come back. What's it going to be?
In a huge way, Sean. You cannot fathom how important these spaghetti strainers are. Like, there's just no way you can be prepared for what they're going to do with these spaghetti strainers.
That is insane. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
There's just no way you can be prepared for it.
Okay.
And I'm really excited.
Okay. There was another thing when they're talking about his relationship with Diane, and he says, we're like 5 big fights away from a divorce. And I want to say that I'm going to be counting, but I'm probably going to lose count. But I do want to see if it's going to be 5.
I will tell you. I don't know if that's true.
Yeah. I mean, it's not something that, like, if it's true, it's cool. If it's not true, it's not like it ruins the show. But those are the kinds of lines that could be crazy cool on a rewatch. So that's the kind of one that I want to like pay a little attention to.
I'll try to keep track of this. So at the end of this episode, I'd say we're at 1, right?
Yeah, I wrote down fight number 1 in my notes.
Okay. So we'll keep track of it, and we'll see if it's true or not. Because that is the kind of thing this show does.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm not sure that's what happens here. I don't remember. So we're back in the interrogation room with Diane and Bojack, and Diane does this really funny thing where he's like, she goes, I know our rights. He goes, do you? And she's like, well, and then she looks them up, and she's like, oh, I'm just setting up a blog post. And he's like, he falls for it.
Yeah.
So they can't be held.
And he says, everyone's stupid rights these days. I never get to have any fun.
So they get released, and they have the whale's phone somehow, the dead whale's phone.
Yeah.
And the last text she sent is, Bojack's gonna kill me. And so they believe Bojack is being framed for murder.
Which is both insane, right? Mm-hmm. And also so much more believable and grounded than what is actually happening.
Yes. So they end up at the bat mitzvah. Because it is a Jewish bat coming of age. And I sent this to you earlier, but they say,
oh my God, yeah.
I can't be involved in a murder. The Academy hates murders. They're okay with rape though. An insane thing that's also like, take that,
super
the Academy.
relevant,
right?
Yeah, continuously super relevant. Like, yeah.
So
man,
there's a bunch of, like you said, a bunch of Jewish jokes and like just a bunch of like,
he's very insensitive.
Culturally insensitive things.
Yeah, it's Bojack.
Right. And they call the last number that Nadia is the name of the whale that died. And they hear another woman, and then they hear Goober's voice.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, hey, this must have something to do with Goober's club. We cut back to the skunk boys. And they bathed in it was spaghetti sauce. They bathed in something red.
It was tomato juice.
Tomato juice.
Because that's what people say. Like if you get skunked.
Yeah, and for this Karen's like, you guys bathe together, and Todd says Lena Dunham takes baths with her friends, and no one gives a shit. It made me laugh super hard. And then I love one of my favorite things about Mr. Peanut Butter as a character is how he is just at his core, he is a dog.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's how he got in this mess in
Constantly.
the first place. And he just has to shake. And they're like, please don't shake, don't shake, don't shake. And he just has to do it.
Oh man.
Just I love the way they build up that scene. Like they keep zooming in. He goes, I have to do it.
It's just like, it's constant. It's so good. I love it.
We cut back to Whale World, and there's Goober, and Bojack does not remember this guy's real name.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Richie Osborne, we find out is his name, but Bojack says, I want to say Goobert. Like he just changes one letter. He adds a T at the end. And Diane's like, hey, we want to talk to you, one of your strippers. And he's like, hey, no, they're not strippers. And then he goes, Skinny Gina, get your sweet tail over here. You got a customer.
Oh my God.
It's so funny. They have to pay for a private dance in order to talk to her. And Bojack's like, oh, gross. Oh, I guess we have to, though. That sounds terrible. Icky. Let's start right now, but really gross. And so they go into the blowhole room to get a private dance
Jesus
with Skinny
Christ.
Gina. And Skinny Gina, they tell her that Nadia's dead. And she says this, there she blows, there she goes. And she looks so sad as she's giving Diane a lap dance. It's just the most insane show. We were watching the most insane show.
It really is like the craziest thing for us to come back to. Like
right.
And she gives this big long speech that is like very, like every cop procedural that you'll ever watch has a scene where they go and talk to like a prostitute or something, and they'll give like a really like big speech about like the hardships of that life. And that's the speech that she gives, but like in the we're fucking whales
Yeah.
way. Yeah. She's like, they say they're gonna make you big like Shamu.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's great. It's so good.
Another one of my favorite bits here is I think Bojack cusses, and she goes, hey, easy, this is a family
Oh my
place. And it
God.
cuts to the side where kids
Oh
are
my
getting
God.
a lap dance from another whale.
I didn't know what to do with myself when the camera panned over. I was like, what is happening?
So she tells them that there's a party where she doesn't want to talk about Bojack, but there's a party where they can learn more about it. And she keeps going, but I can't tell you anymore. And then she'll tell them more, but I can't. This is the last thing I could say. And she keeps doing that until she walks away. So they leave.
Such a like, that's another like, such a detective drama thing.
Right.
But I can't tell you no more. I can't tell you about Eddie. Yeah. Oh, shit, I shouldn't have said anything about Eddie.
Right. So they have to leave because Bojack has an appearance at an old folks' home, and there's a Mr. Ed bit here. Do you know this bit? Do you get what they were doing here?
No, I didn't.
So there's a show, like black and white show, called Mr. Ed, where it was about a horse named Mr. Ed, and they would just like use string.
Jesus Christ, hang on. Keep talking. I looked up Mr. Ed, and I'm going to show you. You might need to put this on the YouTube version, because holy fuck. So
it was a real horse, okay? And they would use string to make his lips move, and then somebody would be voice acting the horse.
I need the people to know what I just saw. That was the first thing I saw when I Googled Mr. Ed.
Yep. For those listening, it is a picture of Mr. Ed with sunglasses on and his like mouth kind of reared back.
Is that where Wilbur comes from?
Yes.
Oh,
so
okay.
the bit is it's Mr. Ed in the old folks' home, and he goes, is Wilbur coming? And the nurse is like, no, Wilbur's a fictional character in a TV show you were on. And he goes,
that's really sad.
Are my kids coming? And she just goes, no.
Oh man. Like it was like, even without the context, it's still incredibly depressing.
Yeah.
Because, just the nature of the scenario is always, depressing. But
every episode, there's at least one joke where I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to explain the cultural relevance of this to Sean.
And that's why we're the perfect Gonbu duo.
Gonbu gang for life. No, we're not the Gonbu gang. Fuck those guys.
Nope. Yeah, fuck those guys.
So the main thing
fuck
that
you,
happened,
Dan.
the main thing that happens at the old folks' home is Diane saying, "Well, we got to go to that party," and Bojack goes, "Well, I should go to that party because someone's trying to frame me for murder, but wouldn't that be a bit unprofessional for you to spend more time with me outside of work?" And she's like, "Hey, I'm sorry. I just didn't like who I was when I, was crashing at your house." And, and he kind of accepts it, and they agree they're going to go to the party. Cut back to the Skunk Boys, and they are burning their clothes.
You said we had to get rid of them.
And Princess Carolyn's like, "There's a drought in California. You can't burn your..." That's it. You burned your lawn to replace it with an more environmentally friendly lawn. This is perfect. And so she's mechanizing all these ways to make him look like a good husband, right? Because he fucked up.
Yeah.
Instead of just telling her, "Hey, I went and messed with the skunk."
Well, why would you? Why would you say anything?
Right. She has to tell him to stay because he's like, this skunk's the guy who started this whole problem. I should go give him a piece of my mind. Mr. Peanut Butter, stay, boy. You can't do that.
The dog jokes will never get old.
No, that's one of my favorite things about him is like he's like this confident, cool, like everything seems to go right for him guy, but he's also literally a dog.
Yeah, man,
literally a dog.
So good,
and they get so much mileage out of like all the dog pet jokes that they do with him. Like it's incredible. Back to Whale World at night, and it's a very strange party. Obviously, there's drugs going around. There's whales everywhere.
There's like whales doing like it's like bikini wrestling.
Yeah. Yeah. But they follow a rabbit into a door, and that's like clearly an Alice in Wonderland reference.
Yeah.
But they go in there, and painted on the wall in like neon spray paint is Bojack kills. And they're like, "What? What is this? Like, what does that mean?"
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
clearly you're being framed or whatever. And they get to one of those like typical like doors with the sliding eye hole, and you get to knock and say the password. And Diane says, "I'm with Bojack," and he says, "Show me." And Bojack takes that as it's time for him to do the Bojack dance.
God, we've seen this before, right?
Yeah, he did it at the dance.
Yeah. Right.
Yep. He will continually try to do the Bojack dance and get that over, and it just doesn't get over for him.
I hope he does. I need more of the Bojack in my life.
So the guy realizes, "Oh, you're the Bojack." And he's
what
like,
a fucked up. Oh man, this is just awful.
Yeah. Well, we find out that Goober is running a drug ring, and he named this type of heroin Bojack because horse heroin.
Yeah.
And Bojack's like, "Oh, it's because you were secretly mad at me because I didn't know your name." He goes, "No, it's just you're a horse. Like you're the horse." And as this happens, Officer Meow Meow Fuzzy Face busts in and stops the drug ring, and does his scene stealing like he likes to do.
And it's like it pays off the like constant tweeting of that's how they knew where they were was because Diane was constantly tweeting
I didn't really mention
that was
that.
happening.
She's been tweeting everywhere they've gone the whole episode. Like it's part of her job supposedly, which doesn't make a ton of sense, but that's why she was doing it. And so that's how they found it. But the mystery still isn't solved. Who killed Nadia, and why was she in Cuddly Whiskers' pool? So they go back to Cuddly Whiskers, and they find the letter that Jill Pill wanted, and it has mention of an Ojai property. And Dan goes, "Ojai property? Did you know about this?" He goes, "Oh yeah, Cuddly Whiskers always used to go to his Ojai property when he wanted to get away. There were so many times where we just didn't know where he was, and he ended up being there. I wonder where he went now." Oh,
I love BoJack Horseman so much.
Yeah.
He's such a fucking mess.
Yep. This all could have been avoided if he would just had remembered that there was an Ojai property that he liked to go hang out. at. Um, so during this time, Mr. Peanut Butter furiously calls Diane and is like, "Where have you been? You said you'd be home late, but this is like crazy. I've been like waiting for you." And she says, me and Bojack were trying to solve a murder." And he goes, "Oh, of course you're with Bojack." Well, that explains it, and because he's kind of hinting that they've talked about the fact that
Yeah.
she, because her and Bojack are so alike, she tends to do things that are not productive and not, what they want. And basically he ends it with, "I'm going back to bed." And she's like, "I'm on my way home." She goes, "We can talk about this in the morning." And she tries to use like the therapy speak on him, and it doesn't work because he's bad, right?
Yeah.
But little does she know that he also was up to no good, right? He was also
Yeah.
trying to hide things from her. So we're gonna see this relationship evolve and devolve maybe, and we'll see.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if they're gonna evolve.
Evolve doesn't have to be a positive term.
I guess that's true. You're right. It just it's just a change,
Yeah.
But fight number one. Yeah, I thought that this was another like moment where it's like, fuck you, this is BoJack Horseman.
Yeah,
You know?
because we sit down with Cuddly Whiskers.
Well, I mean, no, I mean, like, yes, but also the call is because, like, we just went to SeaWorld where the former actor on a children's television show had set up an, a heroin operation under the name of one of the actors on the TV show he used to be on.
Right.
It's like, we're way out there.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have this very real conversation between Mr. Peanut Butter and Diane. And it's just like, it's one of those things that you just love about this show is like, you go so far out and then they grab you and they're like, but also these are real people.
Right. Well, and then it gets even more, right? Like when you think, okay, that's the moment of this episode, they double down on you because Cuddly Whiskers talks about how he was trying to set up a halfway house for these drug addicted whales. And that's why that girl ended up there and she died, obviously of a heroin overdose. But also about how unhappy he was when the BoJack Horseman show failed and how he had to kind of lose everything to become truly happy and to take responsibility for his own happiness. And then
he also, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go.
I would say he also talks about, and something that I think, it's something that a lot of people have problems with or they struggle with. He talks about needing to take accountability for yourself first.
Right.
Because he talks about how, like, look, I had to get out of there. I had to come here and learn how to live again, you know? And Diane's like, well, that's not very fair to the people that you left behind, which is true.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't very fair to those people. But he brings up the point of like, look, this is what I needed,
Right.
Like, it sucks, but
yeah, take responsibility for your own happiness. Yep.
Yeah, like I had to do this. And
they're just kind of sat there in like silence after. They're just kind of like, oh, fuck,
Well, because like BoJack and Diane both need. I mean, but Diane's not happy, and she's trying so hard to make herself happy because she wants Mr. Peanut Butter to be happy. But like, I mean, I assume what she's thinking is like, this fucking, like, I feel like part of what must make her so uncomfortable is I think for her, the reality of going after your own happiness would be her leaving Mr. Peanut Butter.
Possibly, yeah.
Like, at least I think that would be part of it, Like, I mean, let's like, when you look at every time that Diane has done something for herself, right? It puts distance between her and Mr. Peanut Butter.
Right.
Like when she was like, she had to go report on the war. Like that was something that she needed to do. And it got her away from him. It's just. Yeah, I feel like that's something that she's been struggling with this whole time. And it's been vocalized for her by Mr. Cuddly Whiskers.
Played by Jeffrey Wright, by the way.
Is that Jeffrey Wright?
Yep.
Oh my God.
Uatu himself.
I got quick side note. Everybody should go watch American Fiction. He was just in that. He's nominated for an Oscar for it. I just went and saw it last week and it was incredible. But yeah, everybody should go watch it. It's good. I'm sure by the time this comes out, it'll be on some streaming platform.
Yeah, in 10 years. So then they get back in the car and Bojack's like, yeah, what, that guy, huh? And she's like, I just want to go home.
Yeah.
And that's how the episode ends. And I just wrote, yeesh.
Yeah.
Woohoo. Yeah. That's tough. So yeah, that's
it's so difficult because when it comes to their relationship, I'm not sure what they need to be happy.
Right.
You know, like I feel like I know that Diane and Mr. Peanut Butter don't work. Like I feel like that's something that we've seen. Like I know that Bojack is digging himself deeper and deeper into this hole with, there was another part of this episode, I think, where somebody talked about just being authentic, being yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It was Mr. Cuddly Whiskers talking about the Oscars. Like he was talking about how like none of that fame meant anything.
Right.
Right. Like what meant something to him was being himself. And that is the exact like Bojack is throwing away himself to try and win an Oscar. None of the movie is him, you know? So this whole thing that Mr. Cuddly Whiskers is talking about, this is such a serious conversation, and I keep saying the name Mr. Cuddly Whiskers. I love this show. But that whole thing that he's talking about, like, is exactly what Bojack is living right now.
Right.
You know? So
right.
it's very profound, but it is difficult for that silence in the car because I don't really know. Like, well, I don't know where it goes for the two of them.
When you think about it, I mean, their relationship was built on such nothing, right?
Yeah.
Their relationship was built on a job that she had to do to get to know him and him wanting her validation constantly.
Yeah.
Right? And then, being somewhat negative, introspective people together, right? And so I don't know what that means for them, right? Because in his head, it was like a romantic thing and clearly not in hers. And now what, right? And so it's just, you don't know where these characters are going to go in their relationship, and it's hard to predict because they, by all rights, shouldn't be anything to each other at this point.
Yeah.
It's the kind of
dynamic.
Thing normally you walk away from that kind of situation, but they're still working together, and it's just interesting to see where it goes.
In a way, they're like each other's only friends as well. So they can't walk away from that. Right. You know? It's very, I feel like they're the biggest question mark for me of the show. I feel like even them as individual characters, I have a feeling or an idea of like what it is that they need and what their arc should be or where their arc is going. But with the two, I don't are they friends? I mean, like speaking at the end of this, like, are they friends? Are they more than that? Are they strangers who never talk to each other again at the end? Like I literally, it could go from one end of the spectrum to the other, and I just have no idea.
Yeah, 100%. And it's a lot of shows I think would do like the will they won't they thing.
Yeah.
And they're not doing that here, which is great.
You're not even sure that they're friends.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Like, it's excellent.
Yeah. All right. So, categories. What I don't even remember what the categories are.
So our first one is the favorite animal-based joke.
Okay. I got one for this actually.
Okay.
So there's a point in the opening commercial where he talks about the dorsal fins collapsing. Like how look at those floppy dorsal fins. And that's something that only happens to whales in captivity.
Yeah.
All wild killer whales, like almost all of them, have healthy upright dorsal fins. So he makes it like, look at that floppy dorsal fin. Like it's like fucking disgusting, right?
Yeah.
But it's like you have to know a bit about how whales work to get it. Yeah.
You gotta have a high IQ to get that joke.
Not
It's a
that.
lot like Rick and Morty, you know?
That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying you have to understand how whales are affected by captivity, I guess. Like, which I feel like is pretty common knowledge, but not everybody might know.
Yeah, I feel like we've definitely talked about it a lot recently. I think the whole whale to stripper analogy is just
really good.
It's so interesting.
It's really good.
It's funny, and it's also just like you think about it, it's crazy.
I called it South Park-esque earlier, but like, I mean, South Park has had really good like social commentary for a long time.
Yeah.
But sometimes they're just so like on the nose, and that's the point.
Yeah.
Too. But this is a little more nuanced than that, and I really enjoy that about it.
Yeah. Our next category is favorite bit overall throughout the episode. Mine might be Officer Meow Meow Fuzzy Faces. Just what he says.
Yeah.
His character.
I think Officer Meow Meow Fuzzy Face is the star of this episode. That's not a main character for sure. Like, he steals scenes that he's in. And then like the interdynamic between him and the rest of his like crew, specifically the female officer, where it's like they're constantly bickering and stuff. I think that stuff's really good. I agree.
Our last category is our favorite quote from the episode. So I've got I have two that I'm trying to decide between.
Okay. Mine I found the exact quote is Skinny Gina. Once your body gets too banged up, they don't want you no more. There she blows, then there she goes.
Okay, I'm gonna stay in theme with yours then, and I'm gonna stay with the whale stuff.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite line is at the beginning when he goes, "A fun, sexy time for the whole family."
True. That one's good too. Yeah, and then the quote I've referenced a couple times now: "The Academy does not look kindly on murder. Rape, they don't seem to have a problem with."
The other one I was trying to decide between was everyone's stupid rights these days. I never get to have any fun. But I like to keep it on the whale one, I think.
Yeah. Another one we didn't reference, but Diane, when they find the whale, she goes, "Maybe there's someone on her phone we can call." And Bojack says, "Diane, kids these days don't call. They communicate via a combination of text messages, eye rolls, and dick pics." And right after he says that, she goes, "Oh, there's a text." He goes, "Is it dick pics? Let's put them together to see what they spell out." And I really liked that bit too, and I forgot about it. Great show, great episode. So, next episode, Sean.
Yes.
It's called Fish Out of Water.
Okay.
And it is a 9.6 out of 10 on IMDb. And it is one of my favorite episodes of Bojack Horseman. Hands down.
Okay.
And I'm very excited for you to watch it.
I'm very excited.
And I'll just say as a teaser, we might have trouble with the quote of the episode, or the for this one. We might have trouble with it.
Okay.
So I want to put that out there.
All right.
Well, I guess that's going to do it for this episode. We will see you guys next episode for Fish Out of Water. Thank you for all the Bojackers that are sticking with this show.
Thank you for Bojacking with us.
Yeah, thanks for Bojacking me. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All my horse
Bojacking us,
or all my horsemen and horsewomen out there.
Yeah.
Appreciate you listening, and we will be back with the next episode. So, I was gonna tell you that I agree to finish the episode, but that's not this show.
We got a while before we get back to that, hopefully.
Yeah. So we'll see you next time, and then Sean says his thing.
Suck a dick, dumb shits!